Is it your dream to make a zombie movie? Because, sometimes dreams come true. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore, and we are going to talk about today Sam and Mattie Make a Zombie Movie. This is a heartfelt film about two friends who have Down syndrome who actually make a zombie movie, and it's really fun. And the documentary is amazing. We're going to talk to the filmmakers in a minute, but I want to talk to you. I've been doing this now for over a year on this. We use StreamYard to do this. And I never ask to smash the like button this is the thing that YouTubers do, is what I've learned, is you're supposed to ask people to like it. So if you like this video or other videos, please like it, because I don't understand how YouTube works. I watch other YouTubers and I hear all the problems that they have, and I don't want to go into that. But I do want to say I've been doing this a while now, and sometimes the podcast gets 14,000 views on YouTube, and then sometimes it gets 40 views. Clearly, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I hope that you watch this as a way to discover amazing independent films being made today, because I don't know if you're like me, but you may be like a lot of people. I'm bored with Hollywood. I think that Hollywood is just superhero movies and sequels, and everything is based on something that's been around for years, or it's a reboot. Indie film is going through a golden age right now. And across the board, all types of films are being made on an independent level that are purely to, in some cases, entertain, educate. In this case, very much entertain. I'm really excited to have the directors, the co-directors of Sam and Mattie Make a Zombie Movie, directors Robert Carnevale and Jesse Suchmann. I totally should have asked you how to pronounce your names.
You did great.
I see this. I'm so amateur hour now. Let me get the correct pronunciations of your names. Why did I not do that before?
Mine is Carnevale, so I'm Bobby Carnevale or Robert Carnevale.
Robert Carnevale. I could have said that.
It's pretty simple. There you go.
And I'm Jesse Suchmann, which is it's never been pronounced right my entire life, and we're just used to it. It's cool.
I think my recollection is back to gym class, where you learn all the awful ways that your name can be mispronounced and or made fun of. So we don't need to get into that.
We're also from the Northeast, so we have a lot of accents. So it'd always be like Carnival, or like very Rhode Island accents that combined with our difficult last names make things difficult.
Well, first of all, I love zombie movies, and I love also documentaries that tackle kind of a subject that has a pop culture bent, but yours actually has more meaningful layers. I love the friendship between Sam and Mattie. I have a stepbrother who has Down syndrome, so I'm well aware of the challenges. He's very high functioning, and it occurs to me, just observing them, they're very high functioning, right? Like they are and probably really fun to hang out with. So, you did to make the doc, but how did this, where did the idea, one, Sam and Mattie have to decide they want to make a zombie movie where it's on spring break and they have superpowers. I mean, it's so it's just like a fun, fantasy wish fulfillment for them. But then one got the idea hey, we're going to actually do this. Let's document it. Let's get it made. And then you did a crowdfunding campaign. What sort of led to the impetus of they just wanted to make a movie?
So the original origin story, my brother Sam and Mattie, they've been best friends forever. They met at Special Olympics, and so they've always been around, and they would, as any teen dudes are to do, they would go through phases, and they'd be into skating or into DJing, and then at first, we all thought that this zombie movie they were talking about was just another phase they were going to move on from. But I was home visiting it was Thanksgiving dinner, and Sam was talking to me during dinner about it. He's like, yeah, we've been working on some storyboards. You want to check them out? And I was like, oh yeah, totally. So he went up to his room and came down with this like notebook, which we still have, where he had just drawn out just all these scenes like in sequence. Like it was like 2 pages. And it was just, I remember I was like, this is really good, man. Like, it's really fun. And like, but it also, he had like all of these really complex plot points worked out. Like, like he was getting bullied in high school. And then like, I'm sorry for spoilers, but like Satan turned the bullies into like demons. And then he had to like face off against them as a demon. I was like, I've never seen that before. That's like super well thought out. And so that was, the moment where we were like, wow, we got to take these guys seriously. They're putting everything into this. But it also included, prison sequences, DJ Pauly D from Jersey Shore on a cruise ship, jetpacks. And I was kind of like, I want to help them do this, but this isn't something we could do in the backyard with iPhones. They have huge budget aspirations here. And so, of course, I immediately called Bobby, who knows how to make movies. And that was 10 years ago, and a lot less gray hair. But we're like, let's do it.
So there's sort of like 2 layers to this, because one, there's the movie, which just to clarify, do we see the whole film, or is that sort of like okay, so that's the whole film. So it's a short, but it's you kind of like break into it, which I think our reviewer on Film Threat complained about a little bit.
Totally fair.
Whatever.
It's totally fair. Spring Break Zombie Massacre is an amazing. So yes, the entirety of Spring Break Zombie Massacre is in the documentary. I cannot tell you how many different ways we tried to cut it together uninterrupted. I think it was important for people who didn't know the origin story of Spring Break Zombie Massacre to know how much Sam and Mattie were writing their own experience into it. We also want to release Spring Break Zombie Massacre without my annoying interruptions. It is the dream. It's just we're very new to the world of film distribution. We're trying to figure it out. But if anybody here knows anyone at like Shudder, say, I think they should do it as a double feature, so you can watch the doc and then you could just watch Spring Break Zombie Massacre uninterrupted. I think that would be the best.
Honestly, I think I know some people at Shudder.
Let them know. That would honestly be the dream.
There's actually been a really great response with comments and people contacting us about being like, love the documentary. How can we watch Spring Break Zombie Massacre again? And we're like, man,
Right.
it's great that you watch the doc, and it's so great that Spring Break Zombie Massacre is getting this, and it's good for Sam and Mattie too, but we haven't really figured out how to get that out there yet.
Okay, well, after this, like, let's I don't know we'll just start an email chain, and I'll introduce you to everyone I know at Shudder, which may or may not be the right people, but it's certainly something. Seems like, I really like, I as a Shudder subscriber, and I subscribe to a lot of the sort of non-traditional streaming services like Full Moon Entertainment and whatnot, like, which is mostly exploitation movies and all the Puppet Master films from Charlie Band. But I love these smaller like streaming services because I feel like they take bigger risks, right? Like, and Shudder, I don't know, I'm a big fan of like Host that's on there. The Joe Bob Briggs stuff is really good. Like, there's a lot of good stuff. Yeah, that's actually a really good match, and I love the idea of the double feature. That would be great. Although I really want to hear like a commentary track, like, you know what I mean? Like, it would be, like, I want to watch the movie separate, but I want to hear a commentary of like how certain, and I actually did not mind when I saw your film. I didn't mind the interruption because adding it in context, it gives more layers. Like the prom story, I thought was really touching. And we are going to get into spoilers, so please, obviously seek out the doc. I don't think that some of these spoilers would ruin the movie. It's really fun, and it's just really touching too to see their, you're basically made their dream come true, right? Like, but can you talk about the prom story a little bit? I thought that was really good.
I don't know, Jesse, you want to take it?
It was tough. It was tough. Sam is, you've seen him on film. We did this because he told us to. We work for Sam, and Sam is in charge of many aspects of his life. And so
he's also a hopeless romantic.
Yeah.
He is hopeless romantic,
and
builds these like beautiful romanticized scenes in his head. So sorry, interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's exactly right. And so, he was determined to be prom king, and it was, he was approaching prom with all the, gusto that he approaches everything else in his life. And so, as I understand the miscommunication, and this is a spoiler, I guess he had asked someone to prom and sort of verbally made a plan to meet up with them. But I don't think that it was clear. It wasn't clearly communicated. So when he showed up to meet his date where he thought he was going to, it basically had the experience of being stood up and didn't have a date. And so I think that was, not his romantic vision for prom. And, he went to prom and he had a good time, and he's always rolling with the punches. And, I think he even saw her there, and they had I think they caught up, but it wasn't the prom he wanted. It was kind of a traumatic experience. And so I think it's important to know that when Sam's writing his epic, prom battle where he's saving the entire school from Satan himself, it's partially in contrast to, elements of his real prom that were underwhelming. And I think that's, those types of, it is specifically in life events like college and prom. I think Bobby and I got to see that, and them processing, even with Maddie's vision of college coming from 25 different college movies that are totally unrealistic, and then going to actual college was not that experience.
Yeah, and also I think that they take so much information from watching TV, watching movies. They are constantly watching Maddie is watching all horror movies, and Sam's watching these teen dramas. So to watch those all the time, and you get this idea that that's what prom's going to be like, and there's going to be smoke machines, going to be a big thing, and slow motion. She comes out of the bus, and there she is, and we have this dance, and there's a kiss, and I went to the prom with Sam. We filmed him at the prom, and you could see it being well, this isn't what it's like on TV, so I'm going to write what I think it should look like. And just found those contrasts. And Jesse and I, after going through all the hours of footage, found those contrasts later on. Wait a minute, they're just writing their real lives in this hyper realistic way.
Yeah.
Well,
it's pretty awesome.
What was really fun about the film also is that you had rules about how you would make this movie, right? Sam and Mattie would be in charge. So can you talk about those rules and how you came up with that? I really thought that part was, I thought that was, it gave the doc structure, and it made you understand how this creatively would fulfill their vision.
I think Jesse and I had to have a moment of sit down where a lot of these ideas were coming out, and we were how are we gonna kind of do this, and a lot of questions were coming at us, and we were the best thing that we can do is just ask Sam and Mattie. They have been right the entire time. And so I think that was a big ground for us, is that anytime we didn't know an answer to some question of with this building the team, the production was just to ask Sam and Mattie. So I feel that being a good ground rule. But then film sets, I think maybe all three of us know, are just most of the time a disaster and stressful, and the making of the film, and just we had to step back and be no matter what we do, and Sam and Matt are very good at this, is just have fun, make that your number one rule. Anytime things got stressful, we had to stop it and just be all right, if we're not having fun here, we're not doing this right. And we laid claim to that since the beginning. So yeah, I think Jesse has more to say.
No, I think that's exactly right. I think the rules didn't come out of a vacuum. They came out of us, working with Sam and Mattie, and their vision and their energy pulled us into this, and that's what got us to pull other people into it. And so it was only natural to formalize that. And also, I think it was, saved a lot of conflict. Sam's pretty serious about his vision and doesn't compromise a lot. So I think I think just being clear up top that we weren't going to push back, unless literally someone's life was in jeopardy. We were pretty much, all right, we're you're in charge here. We're doing this.
Well, I like that the jetpacks made it in, and then the jetpacks are in. But you did have a producer kind of have a sober conversation with them about like what the limitations were, which every filmmaker deals with. It doesn't matter, at any level, there are going to be limitations, whether it's schedule, budget, and certainly on indie movies, budget is always a consideration. That's always looming in the back, right? Time is maybe something you've got a little to play with. I mean, look, I worked on projects for years, so we know how it is, especially docs where there's no real set like deadline, right? That can drag on for a while. So the have fun rule, I think, was great. I mean, I just think that was like, because to make it stressful, like a real film set can be sometimes, just I think it would have created a terrible environment for both of them and not led to a great experience. What do they now that they've seen the fruition of this, they've appeared on Conan O'Brien, they've appeared on like television, and there's media, and there's been premieres and whatnot, like, do they wish to repeat this experience? Will there be a sequel? Like, is there talk of like, we want to do this again? Because I kind of feel like they were a bit deflated. Like after the attention's gone, it's like, okay, but like that, you gotta dive in and make a sophomore effort, right? Are they talking about doing something new?
I literally, on the other side of my screen, am getting texts from Mattie about plot points for the sequel. They're hard at work on the sequel.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, honestly, since we wrapped at the wrap party, I think we woke up the next day and we hadn't even gone into editing yet. And they're like, all right, so the next one, right? This is what we're going to do. Like all ready to go. And we were like, wait, no, we still have like a little while. They're like, you're not done. We just finished the film. What do you mean? We're like, no, we got to go through the post-production process. And they're like, oh, well, I guess we'll wait for that one.
Yeah.
All right. That's the boring stuff. We don't actually need to see it. We just want to continue making another thing, get these people back together. So.
And that was the breakthrough for us for the documentary. You talk about docs dragging on. Like, we didn't know what the documentary was really going to be. We knew it was about the making of the movie, but, we didn't know how it was going to conclude. And I think for me, initially, it was frustrating what Bobby's saying, because it's like we would be interviewing them like, doesn't it feel amazing to see your vision perfectly executed? And they would want to talk about the sequel, like, and I was like, but we got to talk about this one. Like, this was your big vision. And I think the big breakthrough, that the aha moment that I had, was like, oh shit, they just want to hang out more. They just want to get us together again to keep doing this. That was the big, and so, yeah, they want to do a sequel. I don't think Sam cares about the attention. I think he cares about the attention as long as it means he gets to make more movies, but he cares about the experience more than any, he's always giving us lectures about not not getting caught up in the hype and the fame and not doing it for the money, which luckily isn't an option for us because there's so broke. But I mean, that's what's, I think that's the heart of this thing. And that's why it's fun, is because they write in roles for friends so friends can hang out with us. And that's why the set was great. And that's why, the film was such a great experience for everybody.
Yeah. And also we had a bunch of different cuts of this, of the documentary. And I think that, things weren't working, and Jesse and I were kind of watching it over and over again with our editor, Tim. And we started looking back through footage and we're like, where were Sam and Mattie at this moment when we were all stressed out, like catering and locations? And we find where the other documentary camera was, and they're off playing guitar with a bunch of zombies while they play basketball, And I'm like, I don't remember that at all. I'm like, oh yeah, because we're doing with the fire trucks, and Sam and Mattie are off having a blast with this whole team of people that came together, and it was like, oh yeah, it's great that we were able to pull them in and get them to act to act out the scenes and do the whole thing, but then they'd be cut and they'd be like, we just really just want to go back and hang out. The whole team from Atlanta's up here and they're now best friends, and
Well, I hope you definitely do this sequel, and I hope you can go back on Kickstarter, just having done. Well, I have sort of a 50-50 record on Kickstarter. Half of my projects have funded, the other half failed, but then I learned from that failure how to actually do a successful Kickstarter. I actually think that's my secret to Kickstarter is do a campaign, have it bomb, retool based on that feedback, and then do it successfully. But you can certainly go back to the well with the same people. I mean, you raised over $50,000, if I recall, in the doc. That's enough to definitely make a sequel. When does that launch?
It's like Jesse's worst nightmare, talking about the next Kickstarter.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I think I was really optimistic with our timeline at the onset of the Kickstarter. I look back, when I finally got to send the final link to the documentary to all the backers. It was this glorious moment, and I got to revisit like when the film was promised. We thought the documentary was going to be done the next summer.
Oh no, it's all
how
double
much we've learned.
It's all double the time. Like that's the one thing, and especially with docs are different. But I mean, it's just, Kickstarter. Whenever, and I have backed a bunch of films, and I'm like, just let me know when it's done. Whatever your timeline is, way too optimistic.
Yeah.
Not going to turn out that way.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I don't think that you're the norm, though. I feel like we were getting, Jesse would call me. He'd be like, "We're getting hate mail."
Yeah.
We said we'd have it a year ago, and we're like, "Uh-oh."
We're
still shooting the doc.
Those are from people who've never made movies. Like, right. If you've made a movie, that's why I think whatever but I do I'm in the middle of a process with that right now. You have to just keep your backers informed. These things happened. I will say this, trying to make a doc right when a pandemic starts, not great.
Not recommended.
That can derail a few things.
Yeah.
So that was my situation. But congratulations, Robert and Jesse. The documentary is fantastic. It's really heartfelt, and I just hope that there is a sequel and or a premiere on Shudder. I think would be a great thing. So stay on the line, and we'll talk after. Thank you so much for being on the Film Trap podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks for having us, guys.